Welcome to Reality After Show. For those hearing my voice, you can see that your main host today is Alex. And with me, as always, is the Joker, Dan Montchal. Dan, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, 100-hour final.
100-hour final. Let's put those quotes on it because it sure, sure. It's 100. Unfortunately, Johnny had a pegging incident, rolled his ankle while doing it as well, so multiple injuries. He will not be on today, or if he does show up, he does show up. It's truly you'll never know. But we are here talking about the challenge, Ride or Dies, episode 17. I did not catch the title of the episode.
Yeah,
But
I have no idea what it is.
we know it as part one of the final. And yeah, that's pretty much where we're going. These podcasts the next few weeks, knock on wood, because we say it a lot for the slower episodes, should be a shorter one, especially with this final being what appears to be 3 episodes. So let's stop there and talk about that. Dan, what are your thoughts on that?
Is it really supposed to be 3 episodes?
That's what I've been hearing.
I
That's
thought
what
we were.
some people who also cover the show have said, because I thought it was going to be two-part final, two-part reunion, but on the next time on, they usually show if it's like the end, like the mountain or whatever that you're crossing, like, and your winner, blow the horn. They did not show that.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't show that. And that's 3 parts is just way too much. Like, I get it. There's 100 hours. There's a lot they need to show. But in most of the other finals, that we've ever seen, they've cut out a lot of parts. It can't all be that interesting that we need to see it all.
I think the issue is that they are like, well, we just did this 100-hour final. We should be able to show more than just like quote unquote 3 hours of it, even though it's technically less than that. So by adding another episode, you're like, we can really maximize what we did for these people or to them, honestly. The issue is, and we'll be going through it, it's a 2-team race. Like, and even then, it's like you're gonna be happy for I personally would be happy with either of them winning, but it feels like it's not that they didn't earn it, but it's like you're looking at the field like this team got hurt, this team got hurt. There's probably I wonder if they're still gonna do like an elimination in episode 2, or if
So it
what will
looked
happen.
like when they were doing the preview for the final, I think it was last week coming into this, it did look like there was elimination at some point from how it was set up. It was one of the shots. So I think that there still is going to be elimination. Who knows? Maybe, with Olivia and Horacio, unfortunately, having to bow out at the end of this episode, they don't. But if we're doing an elimination, we're doing that last episode, part 3 of the finale, where it's just 2 teams. We don't need that. Like, it's too much.
It's very interesting because like the fact that it's a 100-day final, that means it's going over 4 days. But like this is technically the first day of footage that we get. And they say for this stretch that like whoever wins this first set of relays gets an advantage for the next day. But is that suddenly going to shove us straight into this elimination? We don't know. It's like, and the big thing is, say their advantage was you get to pick both teams that are in there. You get to choose the team that's safe. You now lose that opportunity based off what happens at the end of this episode. So I'm very curious to see what like the true advantage is, because if the advantage is you get to have a 2-minute head start, is that really an advantage?
No, it means nothing. And, we'll get into it as we're going along the episodes or throughout the episode, but you kind of see the different thoughts. Is we have the soundbite from Devin where he's talking about, he's like, I've seen people in the past, they get out to that early lead, and that's really what they're able to do to propel them to the win. But on the other side, you have Bananas, who notoriously has said, hey, in these multi-day finals, I just try to keep it close through day 1 and figuring that I have enough gas that I'll be fine on day 2, that even if I need to make up a little bit of time, I'll be fresher. I haven't wasted as much energy, and I'll be able to track them down.
Yeah, but with that logic for Bananas, it's a final format that is the typical one. Where it's like the
Yeah.
first day is a bunch of relays, then that impacts how you get to sleep at night. But the second day is everyone starts on a delayed time running up a mountain. Like this from all set and purposes, we're watching this final and that's not what we're getting here. It's gonna be a bunch of running and a bunch of doing tasks throughout it all, but it doesn't seem like, oh, you're gonna have the endurance mountain climb to finish it off. But we still have potentially 2 episodes to figure that all out.
Oh, who needs a challenge off season? Not important.
There is no such thing as a challenge off season because by the time this finishes, we'll have the world championships to discuss. And that'll once again be me, Dan, and Johnny holding down the fort for that as well. But we are back at the house and we're having everyone celebrate. And it's like you're getting to sort of see sort of the pulse of some of the players. We get a bananas toast, which it's sort of funny. We start the season with a Nelson toast because he was the most veteran person there. And then you get to the end and there's like 4 players who started delayed in there that are the actual veterans. And it's sort of nice seeing it. I know we should talk about the Vacation Alliance, but like we should talk them because they're successful. And you get to the end and a majority of the final is that alliance and veterans that like are showing that we can still go.
Yeah, I think you have like with the 4 teams that were left, I think it's pretty standard for most challenge seasons is you're going to get to the end. Most of the players are going to be the vets that are in some type of alliance. And then occasionally you'll have a rookie team that slips through, which is what we have in Olivia and Horacio, except they didn't slip through. They clearly earned their spot there. They're one of the best teams all season. So, I mean, I think when it's all said and done, you could argue Fessel and Mariah, but it's probably the 4 best teams that are there.
Yeah, for sure. And when now like we sort of go beat by beat with some of these people. So it starts off with Tori and Devin, which for me, being the person who's like Tori and Devin are winning this thing, it's a good mark for me and my prediction all season long that they're winning. And because they're back, they're in back-to-back finals. They fell short last time. They both got second place. Last time I want to say Devin may have gotten third.
I think Devin was third.
Devin got third. Kyle got second. Kyle's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But this season they understand the pressure, and as Devin says, pressure makes diamonds. I think they are the team coming in collectively in the best headspace, and the team that's going to be able to communicate the best throughout this final.
No, I agree. And I mean, you see it pretty much throughout this entire episode that they do work really well together. And it's kind of, as we're seeing through it, is that where their weaknesses are, the other one complements it really well, which is always huge in the final because there isn't really that leg that they're going to struggle with that other teams are going to be able to make up that much time on.
Right. Now we got the bananas joke of, well, if we win and they say you can steal the money, you have to have that in there. Bananas knows what he's doing. Bananas always has his marks. He knows what he has to say for the camera, has to do his cliches. We also have him sort of like giving Anissa some credit of like the veterans, the old people knowing still being able to get their way into the final with meaning him and Anissa. It's been 13 years since she's been on a final in the main show. We all know she went to the final in All Stars 1 and was absolute shit.
So here's my little Anissa nugget for you. Imagine like you, we don't listen a ton to the official challenge podcast. Mm-hmm. Apparently on there, didn't listen to it. So taking this, third party, she had claimed on there that her endurance is just as good as Jordan's. She's slower. But other than that, same endurance as Jordan.
I feel like she doesn't know what endurance means. Like, she's saying, I can keep moving. Like, I won't stop. I will keep going. But by you saying you're slower, Jordan's doing more with more energy, getting a farther distance, which means he has more endurance. Let's quit it here. Let's quit it here. And but don't worry, Anissa, I'm coming back for you when we get to the actual the official day one of the final. I'm coming. Be ready. Um, but I'm saying this also knowing that my cardio is shit. Like I would need to spend a lot of time practicing it. But I'm not on the show. I'm not on the
No,
show competing for $1 million.
yeah, I mean, I feel like most people that if they actually are on the show, they'd absolutely die. They wouldn't be ready for it. But if this is what you do year after year, you're coming back for, what, sort of 19th season or whatever it is. You think at some point maybe we put a little emphasis on our shortcomings?
You would think. You would definitely think. But I get the side of it is as you get older, your body doesn't always behave how you want it to. But we haven't physically seen the work. It'd be one thing if we were seeing her do the work, but it's still just isn't enough, because that's a different story. We don't see her doing anything.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what you have a little bit with Nani, is you
Yeah.
always see her doing the work. It just at this point so far, it just hasn't panned out in a victory yet.
Yeah. And as Jordan says, the main game of the challenge is two parts. One's making the final, now it's winning the final. We get the toast. They all celebrate. It's next day. Workout montage. And good thing Johnny's not on here, because Bananas whips out the old guitar and starts playing the 5 chords that he knows. And everything's peaceful. Nothing's happening. The final isn't starting yet at all. Nani's in a robe. As Anissa says, she's not even dressed. She is dressed, folks, just to be clear. For all of our sakes, she was dressed. But yeah, everyone's half the people are working out, half the people are just lounging around, not knowing what's coming.
Yeah, just, Horacio just swimming laps and hanging out without a shirt like a beefcake he is.
The amount of people who got their Horatio porn today.
Yeah.
They got their fill.
Yeah, I mean, talk about if this is going to be your last episode and you're not going to win, you want an episode like he had, because it was pretty flawless from start to finish.
I want him to start giving out workout regimens. It's I will make you look like me. Here's how. Dude's a work of art. But on his motorcycle comes in TJ, as he always does. Well, not into the house, but always on his motorcycle. And he says, "Hey, I told you guys. Be ready at any time, any given moment. We are going to start, and the challenge final is starting right now. And for the first time ever, it's going to be 100 hours long." And you already see some of them just being "Oh God." Anissa's already I was already freaking out about it being a 24-hour final. Now you're telling me it's 100. Olivia's freaking out, but Horacio's very excited. It's oh, I can't wait to do 100 hours of stuff. This is going to be fun. And I'm going to get some money.
Yeah, he's the only person that I think's excited. And maybe part of it's just because he's never been to a final before, but everyone else, especially the other 3 vet teams, they're just which I think in that aspect of it being that long, it's doing what it's supposed to do, because it's already in their minds. It's something they're thinking about, that, hey, this is really going to suck.
Yeah. And also you hear 100 hours and you're "Oh God, that's a lot of running. That's a lot of miles on us." And we hear from Devin, and Devin talks about how endurance is what has failed him in the other finals that he's been on. But he's "I'm great at everything else, but I've been working on it. I've been working on the endurance. I refuse to make the same mistakes this go around." And I think this is the story that we've been getting from him all season. It's been on a back burner type of story, but Devin's whole approach to the season, it's this is my season. This is my redemption. I'm getting this title. I will do all the necessary work to ensure that we get it.
Yeah, it hasn't been thrown in your face, but every few episodes you get something where it's like, huh, Devin's doing a lot better at this than I thought he would, or he has in the past. So he's definitely, I mean, because you look as if they're going through and he doesn't look like that weak link that he may have been in years past.
Yeah, no, and like we'll get like obviously they make the joke about him taking his shirt off during the stationary bikes, but like let's be clear, everyone wishes we could look like like Horacio. Us being fit, most of us look like Devin.
100%.
Like Devin's gotten himself in a lot better shape. But we start the final, and for the first hour, which is really 2 hours, you and your partner get into your 4x4s and you're driving to your first location. So really, the first 2 hours have nothing to do with the final because there's no race, there's no incentive to be faster. You're all just driving there. The main notes I get from here are from Bananas and Nani. First is Nani going, I remember watching your Real World season and thinking you were a complete asshole. But I like you. And I just love the big pause in it where Bananas is like, where are you going with this? I'm trying to smile it off. We're good. You're an asshole, but I like you.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of, if you've been following it back since kind of when they started interacting in like the mid-20s, that's always kind of been their thing, is that she's always had this love-hate relationship with Bananas that obviously over the past few years has turned more into like a friendship after they got over their whole ex thing, and that's just kind of always what works for them.
Yeah, they're dysfunctional couple, but it works. Can't say that for everybody, but somehow they make it work, and kudos to them. I also love that he asked Nani if she speaks horse.
I was waiting for a Cara Maria joke.
I mean, there's a lot of social media buzz about I don't preach to it, but it's about Nani like with the new teeth has like a horse mouth. So they all think Bananas was in on the joke and is like, hey, can you speak horse to them? Tell us where we're going, even though we can clearly tell they're just going in a straight line.
Yeah.
But they get there and you have to take your bags, take the trunk out of the trunk of your car, and they all walk into the woods. And this is where we get Tori sort of highlighting the other teams and saying like how this is going to be a hard competition for them. Some of them are very accurate. One, debatable. You got Jordan, 3-time champ. Very true. Very true. You got Nani. It's been to the last 3 finals. Yep, very true.
Also very true. Accurate.
Bananas, 7 times champ. Knows what he's doing. Been around the block. Horacio and Olivia, probably in her words, the best rookie team I have ever seen on the challenge. Which, there's a debate there, but like they are definitely the best of the rookie crop of the last like 5 seasons, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's others that you could make had better rookie seasons, but I mean, if you were going to just say rookies in the past few years, yes, they're the best. Or even if you're talking all time, they're still in that upper echelon of most rookies never have a season like this.
No. And then finally, Anissa's a beast.
In some eliminations.
Yes.
50% of them.
Yeah. Just slightly over 50%. They're 13 and 12. We'll see if it gets back to 50% throughout the course of this final. Or if they count it or not. Who knows anymore. But yeah, so it's a stacked field. And I would argue, even with Anissa being there, these are the 4 best teams. Even though you can make the case that you could swap Jordan and Anissa out for Fessel and Mariah.
Yeah, I don't think now, like, obviously we have lots of jokes and facts on Anissa, but it's still, I don't think that there's this massive layup there that there is in a lot of other finals that we've seen over the years, where it's just like they're here, like not like the Jay and Jenna from like Rivals 3, where it's just like they stand no chance. So there isn't that, at least.
Well, yeah, and especially despite the length being scary, I would argue this is the final format for Anissa. Like you're never gonna be leading with her, but I feel like this is a format where, for the most part, you're on a very level surface that maybe some hills along the way, but like there's no mountain, just a bunch of tasks. And we've seen that her and Jordan typically on a lot of the tasks do very well at them, especially the ones that don't require a lot of running while you're doing it. So it's not out of the ballpark. It's just very unrealistic.
Yeah, they're definitely the long shots, but if it comes down to some weird puzzle at the end of it, like, is it a high chance? No, but it's not out of the possibility.
Yep. But we are now 4 hours into the final, and we're finally doing the first thing, which is the stationary bikes. So you and your partner have to ride your stationary bikes for a total of 100 kilometers. And once you do that, you'll get a code combination for the lock that for your trunk, and you would be able to release that for your camping supplies to sleep overnight. There's no incentive to finish first. It's just you finish quickly, you get more time to sleep, dry off, get warm around a fire. And we see a lot of these teams taking different approaches. Like, you have Jordan, who's just like, I'm going to just beast this. You have Horacio and Olivia, like, we just want to finish fast. Like, we want to show people, like, yeah, we are here to play and also maximize the amount of sleep. Then you have Bananas and Devin, who are like, and Tori, who like, there's no incentive to finish first. We'll get it done. But, like, there's no point stressing out about this. There's no point getting upset during this. We're going to take our time. But Nani does not get the memo.
No, and I mean, that's kind of just been the whole theme throughout the season, is there hasn't been any incentive to finish first, and it's going right into the final. And Nani didn't get it, but what are your thoughts on having them do 100 kilometers, and it essentially means nothing in regards to the game?
Well, I feel we've seen this before. Like, I think it was on Free Agents, where like before you went to bed, you had to do like a lot, like 20 miles or something like that on the stationary bike. Nani was last. Like, that was a big storyline, was her being last and being the last one to be able to go to sleep. There was no incentive to finishing first, I think, back then. Like, I think each team had or each person had like a separate tent or whatever.
I could be wrong because I haven't seen Free Agents in a while. I still thought that they had individual times, like, because they were adding all of them up at the end. I still think that, yes, that was the incentive, that you get to sleep earlier like this, but I still do believe that counted towards your total time.
Well, if you're a patron at realitypatron.com, we covered the Challenge Australia final, which is the same exact format, using different stuff, but it's the same format. And they started their final the same way, of like, you did a task before going to bed. There was no incentive doing it. And I didn't mind it, the start. So I don't mind there not being incentive, but I also enjoy that, like, you're making them work right off the bat. So it's up to them how much effort they want to put into it. But the less effort you put in, the less time you have to sleep. So, and I think in these type of finals where it's multiple days long, sleep is an important factor. So I wouldn't be going at the speed of Horacio and Olivia. I'd probably go more at the Bananas pace, where it's like you're in the middle. Like, take an appropriate amount of time. You're going to be tired no matter what, but do it at a good enough pace where you can still get a decent amount of sleep.
Yeah, the only thing that I wish they changed, and I guess it has the caveat, is because we haven't seen these extra nights yet, is I think I would have liked to seen this after a day where they were actually doing something. So it's like that last task, you're already tired going into it, and that's what you need to get through to go to sleep. Now, who knows? Maybe there will be other stuff similar to this in the other days, but I think that's the only thing that I would have liked to see. It is not just be right off the bat before you go to sleep.
Okay, true. Couple of remarks here. We get Nani being mad that Bananas is dicking around. We have Bananas saying F you, Lance Armstrong. Not much else. But we hear just Olivia and Horacio like, we want to finish first, and they do, so that they can maximize their sleep. And I also love that during it, Olivia decides to really utilize her deodorant. And she's like, I don't know the next time I get to use it, so I'm putting it everywhere.
Hey, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, but then we hear the counterpoint of Tori and Devin as Jordan needs to finish. Bananas and Nani finish. Tori and Devin are the last ones to finish, but Devin made it very clear. He's like, I want to maintain my energy. I know what these finals are. These rookies, Olivia and Horacio, they do not know what's coming. I want to make sure I'm good for tomorrow. I'm not going to burn myself out now when there's no reason to. So, yeah. So it's the next morning. We are now at hour 19. So we are a fifth of the way through the challenge final with one task done that had no incentive. But today's the bigger day. It's like today's a race day. It has several stations that you must complete each station before moving on. But TJ makes this very clear. You want to win today so that you have an advantage for tomorrow, because you have to remind everyone constantly throughout this is not a traditional final. So who knows what the advantage is, but you should want to have it.
Yeah, and I guess you'd imagine it's going to be big, whether it be, as we've talked about, is it going into a limit, potentially picking an elimination match? Is it just having your time a lot, or is it just being able to sabotage others? Like, at this point, finally, we're back to the challenge incentive to win. Like, it's great.
Right. And before you race, like, we see, we see Bananas taking a dump against a tree. We see Anissa doing whatever she thinks is a stretch. But above all else, before you start running, you want to make sure you shave that bush. And we got the promo just for you.
Support for Reality After Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with its exclusive offer for you. That's right, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 12 million balls.
The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave.
Now, I have a dark shower curtain in my bathroom, and I've been looking for the perfect way to shave in the dark, kinda. Guess what? I found it! 4000K LED! No longer a problem. I got perfectly smooth, clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 4.0.
It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SURVIVOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thanks for sticking with us through the ad break. And don't forget, for more exclusive Reality After Show coverage, visit realitypatron.com. That's reality, Patron.com.
And we are back. We are smooth and ready to run. Doesn't matter if we're running on the trail or off the trail. Right, Dan? It's like we can be Jordan, we can be Anissa, we can run off the trail, we can be fast and loose. No injuries.
No injuries. It's how could that possibly happen?
Oh, well, Anissa rolled her ankle.
I think my favorite part of this moving forward is it just now Jordan's unfair just because in a lot of ways he's like an X-Men and he can do a lot of things that most people can't. But the way that Anissa keeps going, like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I'm moving as fast as I can. Is you're talking to the guy who literally crash landed at the start of a final at Dirty 30, had a fracture in his knee, and still won by a landslide.
He beat a still in shape CT and Derek with a broken leg. Like, first off, with Anissa, there's just like there's two things there. It's like, I get it, bodies are different. And but one, you know your partner when you signed up. Well, technically she didn't know who her partner was when she signed up, but you know who Jordan is. And this isn't an elimination. Like, this is the final. He has a reputation of being able to beast finals. Like, even if he loses, he gives all of his heart, and it's always very close. So, to you right out the gate rolling your ankle because you want to complain that, oh, production won't let us run off course. Production doesn't care. No. There's no clear, like, if they wanted to keep you on a course, they would have it roped off, and, like, this is the exact path that you must take. They didn't care when Natalie ran the exact wrong direction in the final that she was in. It's like,
yeah, and especially, I mean, if you're thinking Jordan, it's like, hey, he knows his partner's Anissa. Like, anything that we can do to shave off a few seconds here or there, that's what we should do, because we're really going to need that.
Also, Anissa, you're an adult. If you don't believe you should be running that path and just run the actual path, you do it. Like you don't have to listen to your partner just because he said, oh, run through the trees, it'll be better. Y'all have to get to station one way or the other. Run the path that you think you need to run.
No, it's a lot easier because now she has something that she can point to blame. This is the reason why. And I think if more than anything, that's what Anissa wants.
And that's more than anything what pisses Jordan off more.
Oh, of course.
Like, but all the other teams are fine. All the other teams running at a good pace. We get to the first checkpoint where it's the 10 bolas. And for every 2 bolas that you get onto your, I don't know what to even call that. Like
the no, I don't think rack's even the right word, but
I was going to call it a ladder.
It's kind of ladderish.
Whatever. We all know what we're talking about here. When you land 2 bolas, you can move one of the smoothies to an opponent to sabotage them and allow you to drink less. So a lot of these competitions, you want to get there first. You want to be able to finish first. Like, you want to be able to have the advantage to plague other people. And so we originally see Devin, Tori, and Bananas and I just exchanging their smoothies back and forth for each other until Devin is about to put one on Bananas and I going, do we want to just truce this? And like Bananas like, if we don't, we're just going to equal out. So then they start putting it on Horacio and Olivia. Bear in mind, I think this was an easy decision for Devin and Tori because one, they're in the lead. 2, if you can get Bananas and Nani to not sabotage you back, then perfect. Because you have Jordan and Anissa who are going to sabotage the other 2 teams anyway.
Yeah, and prior to this, where it's, before Olivia cuts her finger, you'd think, hey, if we keep going back and forth, that's the team that's going to end up running out ahead of everyone. So it makes the most sense for all parties involved. And then, unfortunately, Olivia's day starts to get rough.
I feel so bad for her. I know the challenge community feels so bad for her. It's the day that, like, anything that can go wrong did go wrong. And this is the first step. She goes to swing one of the carabiners. And I don't remember if she was swinging it from the middle, which is what I would recommend, or from the ball itself. I believe it was from the ball itself. And the carabiner on one of the bolas hooks onto her finger and rips off the skin. That's brutal. Finger injuries, like toe injuries, like they're small. You don't think like, oh, that like it's gonna hurt, but it's like those are the nerves that are in your hand. There's like hundreds, and it's beyond
not
painful.
only does it hurt, it hurts because, as you mentioned, all the nerves. but it's you never realize until you have some type of scrape, cut, or anything like that happens on your hands. I don't think people truly realize everything that they use their hands for, which seems ridiculous, but it's true. It's until you can't use it, you don't realize how much that affects just everyday life, and not to mention everything that you're doing here on the first day of the challenge, day two, whatever you want to call it.
But one thing we can give Olivia a lot of credit for is this is what perseverance is, Anissa. She's there telling, like, getting stitched up so that there's a moment where she was like, you can just cut the finger off. Like, I'm going to keep competing. Like, so she's getting her thing stitched up. And by the time it comes to drinking, she's getting stitched with one hand and drinking the fish guts smoothie with the other. Like, that's actual guts. Like, no pun intended there. Like, she really was a trooper here, and it gained me even more respect for her.
Yeah, I think you've seen, perseverance is a great word for it, but more heart than most of the people that come on these shows have. Because I feel like most people, if you just take this cast, that we started with, I don't know, it was 50 people. But, there's only the handful of people that would actually do this. Like, so many people would be like, oh, I'm quitting, or just, hey, like, Horacio, you do everything because, I clearly can't right now. And
right.
So it shows a ton of heart from her.
But here's something that I have questions about. Why did they not make Tori drink half the smoothies? Nehemiah was also vegan. Nehemiah had to eat. And I understand it was individual there. But, like, and I know Tori claims, like, during it, like, I can drink it. Like, I'm vegan. But I would do, like, once you put that precedent on it, I don't know. There's something about it where I was like, so Devin's allowed to drink all the drinks, but Horacio's not allowed to do all the targets.
And see, that's what really bothered me about it, because when we get to that checkpoint, it has to be each one hits one, except for where it's, 2 and 2 for them. Is that I don't think you can have that where you already set that, if you're setting the precedent at some point that it needs to be a 50-50 split, then I think it has to be that way across the board. You can't pick and choose when you want to do that.
Right, because I don't think there's a correlation between vegan and injuring your hand so you can't pull something. And if that was the case, then they should have just pulled Olivia and Horacio right then and there. And been like, I'm sorry you got injured, but, like, this is where you finish. Like, yeah. If you're not going to allow them, because, like, oh, well, she can use her other hand. But, like, if your other hand's not what you're used to using, you're instinctively always going to keep going with the injured hand.
Yeah, because even, if we go back to that dreaded Challenge USA season, now, yes, it was more of a vegan friendly when they did the onion and the lime juice, but it was still each partner was responsible for their own portion, not, oh, so-and-so's better at eating, so I'm going to let them house most of mine as well.
So then the question is, do you make Tori drink it even though she's vegan? Or do you move forward, create concoctions that are able to be drank or consumed by any individual that would be coming onto a challenge? Because, like, this would be the same thing of being like, oh, this is pig guts. Well, if Vessel's in the final, he religiously can't do that. And that's also different from vegan. Like, he religiously can't eat it.
I think you have to have a firm stance one way or the other. Either they need to change the way they do their eating challenges, or it's just, hey, this is what it is. Like, we're sorry. This was made up, not knowing who was going to be in the final. This is what the station is. Like, do it or don't.
Yeah, but Tori and Devin finished first because Devin drinks them all, probably pretending they're all, like, Miller Lite. He's from the Boston. They're all Sam Adams. Just chugging them along, doing the technique where, like, a third of it falls off as you're consuming it. But, the challenge, they don't care.
Either letting it go down the sides or pretending that you're throwing up. Those are the two go-tos.
Well, I believe in the throw up. whether you're making yourself do it or not, like I would believe it. Because one, it's disgusting. Two, and this is the more credited thing to it is, why would you want that in your stomach when you're about to run a long distance?
Of course.
I couldn't make myself throw up, so I would literally just have to deal with it if I was competing in this. But yeah, that's not fun. I personally am not a fan of vomit montages, but boy, did we get them. We got it from everybody. Tori and Devin, this is where like their lead starts to get bigger. But after them, I forget who leaves first. Or after them, it's Anissa and Jordan.
Yes.
Yes, they get their second to the second station second. Then it's Bananas and Nani. Then it's Horacio and Olivia. But the second station is 16 tires of all the eliminated players from each round. You have to bring those tires one tire at a time per person, 1 kilometer out. So you're doing 16 kilometers in total. So that's a lot.
Yeah,
you know what? Like, I will give Anissa that. Like, even if you're an average in shape person, like 16 kilometers is a lot in one go.
Oh, 100%.
But so when you get to the other end, you're then putting all of them, all of the tires from first eliminated to the most recently eliminated. And then you get to move on to the next stage. And Bananas and Nani are the only team, or more specifically, Bananas is the only team to start it out immediately just understanding, like looking at what the names were like, okay, this is most likely, this is what it's going to be. It's either going to be from most recent to the first eliminated or first eliminated to the most recent. And that's where veterans who have been around and done everything is an advantage.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this one, you have to carry them all down there at some point anyway, so it isn't this massive advantage, but it's still like it's any way that he can find a way to hack a challenge. You've seen him over the years. He finds something that gives him a little bit of an edge.
Well, it happens when you're only somewhat athletic, which he is selling now. As of yesterday, he is selling somewhat athletic t-shirts on his website.
I think my favorite was Devin's tweet being like, imagine being a D1 athlete and, not being there in the final.
An Olympian.
Yeah, an Olympian against what he called, it was, a 40-year-old, someone with like a simple Jack haircut and a chubby drunk.
Yeah. And it's true. It's true. Like yes, Jordan is an animal, but he looks goofy. Bananas has been around for a long time, still in very great shape, and he even makes jokes of it too, of like, "Oh, you're doing action shots of Horacio. Let me tuck in my gut first before you guys come over to me." But you look at him, he's in incredible shape. Like, age aside, he's in incredible shape. And then you have Devin, who has his unlit cigarettes and beers and likes to have a good time, but like he is fit.
Yeah,
I like that he gets to make fun of himself though.
Yeah, that's Devin's go-to. Yeah, I mean, it's not, you can be in really good shape and not look like Horacio. Most people are.
You have to have a very strict diet and burn like 3,000 calories a day while lifting and running and HIIT workouts and all that, and that's your life.
Yeah.
All of us don't got that time. Okay, so, but by the time they are getting that lead and getting to the station 2, it's at hour 21. Devin and Tori do ultimately finish first. Bananas and Nani finish second. This is where Jordan's getting a little more animated with Anissa because she is just walking, but walking very slowly, where he's like, I'm walking at a normal pace for me, and I'm still like miles ahead of her. Like, she needs to pick it up.
Yeah, it's at this point, I'd almost call it like what she's doing is like a quiet quit. Like, oh, I'm not giving up. But at that point, you pretty much are. Like, yes, you're not stopping. You're still technically moving. But if you really want to win this final, it's not going to be like this.
Come on, Dan. Don't be so hard on her. She's persevering.
Sure.
She's persevering.
I'm sorry.
And she's gonna finish this final, and she's still gonna win it. And you
No.
see Jordan, who's just like, this is after the fact, and you just see him in his soul because like, like, we may be in last right now, but we're coming for you. We're coming for you. And I'm just like, you don't have to pretend to us. You do not have to pretend to this challenge audience. We all know the drill. Whether you're a fan of Anissa or not, we know the drill.
Yeah, it was always going to be an uphill battle just with her and her endurance, her slow endurance. But it's unfortunate. I think at this point, it's just Jordan losing his mind. And, 2 episodes ago, it was maybe I needed a drill sergeant like that to really push me. And that tone has quickly changed.
No, and you get Jordan's perspective of it too, where he's just like, what's frustrating the most is he feels he has a legacy to protect. And we heard him say that when he was losing his elimination to Horacio. He's like, I want my legacy to be seen in a certain light. And physically being handicapped by Anissa rolling, even if she didn't roll her ankle, being physically handicapped by Anissa not training with cardio is what's going to stop him from being even considered as a winning candidate for this season.
Yeah, and I think you see through this is, there's a lot of reasons that people bash on Jordan, and rightfully so. But for him, he's kind of from still more of that old guard, even from where he came in, that it isn't about, the fame or Instagram followers or whatever it may be. Is he wants to win, and he wants to have this legacy that is up as one of the best. And he just, I think the longer this goes, he just can see it slipping further and further away, that he doesn't want to have that second finals loss on his record. No,
and like, he hasn't lost the final since his rookie year, Rivals with 2 Marlon. With Marlon. Yeah, it's just like, I get it. And it also just goes with how he grew up, him always feeling like he has to prove himself, and it just translates straight into this show. So like, I do have a lot of respect for him for trying this with Anissa, but no, it ain't happening, Jack. It ain't happening.
No, like I said, Jordan's like an X-Men. Like, he's different.
But yeah, so now we get a couple other like stories here. We have Nani, who's saying like how she wants to live up to what her mom lived up to. So she holds her mom to a very high light. This season has been all about how is Nani going through this while mourning, essentially. Like, still in the process of mourning, going through the stages of grief, and really just idolizing her mom, wanting her to feel like her mom would be proud of her and like see her as herself, essentially.
Yeah, it's that it hasn't been, it's been more pick and choosing. Like, you got it a lot in the beginning of the season. You got even a lot of it more as like when Casey got eliminated, but it's just, that's her story. And that's the only thing I think I'm coming to your side now that you were on it from the beginning, that it looks like it's Tori and Devin's season, but it's just, I don't understand why they're hitting this storyline home as hard as I understand her doing it for her mom, but this is her season to break through. And maybe it is, but it's just,
I would love for it to be, but like, we all know the challenge. They love the things that'll tug at people's heartstrings.
Of course.
And so this is such like an easy storyline to do for them. And Nani's being vulnerable enough to let it be the storyline for her. And I also think that's what's going to cause them to lose, is I think she's putting way too much pressure on herself. And that's why like some of these moments where Bananas knows like, you need to have some levity here, like, or you're just going to drive yourself insane, or you're going to do something that you don't want to do. That could hurt, and that's hurting something that could potentially cause you to lose that final, lose that money, lose that legacy. Because they're dysfunctional, and they admit it during the third stage, but like they're like, it works. But there's just certain moments where she gets snippy, or not snippy, because I don't want to sound derogatory here, but like she gets heated. And I'm like, I think she just needs to like take a step back and be like, okay, let's just do this. I'm annoyed right now, but I'm going to put that aside because I'm trying to get this done.
And I think it's in a lot of ways, and we'll see how it ends over, I guess, the next 2 weeks. But I think it's showing that not only are they ride or dies, but someone like Bananas is the perfect partner for Nany. Because if it was someone else where they're taking it way too seriously, which of course you're going to take it serious, you're talking about a life-changing amount of money. But if you don't allow yourself to also have some fun with it and take it for kind of what it is, you're going to drive yourself nuts by being that like dialed in, that serious about it for 5 days in a row.
Right. We also get the story about Olivia, which I want to touch on because this is like her swan song for this season, and it's her talking about how her father raised her. So she has, I believe they said it was a brother, and then it was her and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
But her dad, and they all live in Alaska. We need to make that very clear. She was raised pretty much as a tomboy, but now she realizes it was more so her dad raising her equally to how he would raise a son. So it was he sees me and my siblings all on a level playing field.
Mm-hmm.
So this encourages me to go out and take these risks, do these competitions, go and put all my heart into it, because that's how I was raised. I was raised to go against the grain, essentially.
Yeah, it's a really touching story, and I think it also, giving that background on Olivia, you learn a lot more about her and just also gain an even deeper level respect for her.
Yeah, and she's young. She's only she's not young in terms of what we used to do with the challenge, throwing 22-year-olds on, but she's 30.
Yeah.
If she wants to come back, there's easily a ticket already set for her. You have your spot guaranteed. You just say when. That's 100%. My belief, at least. I think she was an amazing rookie. I think she proves it in what we're about to talk about. A lot of heart, and I think the challenge is in desperate need of people like Olivia, people like Horacio, for this show to have more legs after some of these OGs, just age-wise, physically-wise, phase out of this show.
Yeah, I think it's super important, because I think what the challenge had for the longest time, and it was because you had the feeder shows like The Real World, Are You the One? But what it hasn't had lately is a lot of those middle vets, which is kind of where, you'd see a Nelson, a Corey, people like that they've been on a number of shows. Maybe they haven't won, but they've been more of a staple. And I feel like for the most part, from the past few seasons, it's been, you've either been on the show a lot and no one's kind of made that next step into being, hey, you can be a mainstay for the next decade to come. I think they would be great candidates for it, with the Jays and Michelles of the world.
Right. In the last 4 or 5 seasons, the only people that were rookies in that period of time that are now having an extended stay are Casey, Vessel, Amber, Michelle and Jay. You can throw in there too.
Yeah.
But that's only 5, and we had a ton of rookies in those 5 seasons. But moving forward here, before we get into Station 3, I would be remiss to not mention this, because I know Johnny would have. Is while they're doing the tire test, Bananas picks up a tire with Mariah's name on it, demands that he's the one who wears it or holds onto it, because he always wanted to wear Mariah like a hat.
It's phenomenal.
There's nothing else to say there. That's no. Literally. I know Johnny went off for 5 minutes on this, but I'm not Johnny. It was great. I saw that there was a good amount of a banner on social media between him and Mariah about it. I loved it. It was funny. I will say that's one thing about this show this season. I feel like there's been a lot more levity around most of the episodes, and not as serious tones to it.
Yeah, it's those moments where it's the Johnnies, it's the Wesses of the world, that it's just hey, not only are we trying to compete, but we're also out here, let's give a good TV moment whenever we see that it could possibly come up.
Right. But yeah, so Devin and Tori finish in a big lead. They get to station 3, and look, it's almost like, first station, it's like little beach games that you'd have while having a beer. Second one, it's just tires. Anyone can do that. The third one, oh, look, it's the slingshot. The slingshot's back, where we knew only one person who was good with it.
That was Devin.
That was Devin. And hey, the challenge is not fair. And I think Devin and Tori are in a great spot where, like, they're, as a duo, they're not terrible at anything. Like, there may be some things that they're not great at, but almost everything you're going to give them, they're at least average. So, like, they're going to always be, that's why I feel very strongly that they are winning this. I just think they're going to constantly be able to keep this lead, because I don't think any station is necessarily going to hold them back.
Yeah, them as a partner, they're kind of like, they're not a jack of any trade, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't have anything, we were talking about a little bit earlier. They don't have anything that could be thrown at them where I'd say, ooh, they're really going to struggle on this and give someone else some time to catch up. I think if anyone's going to catch them, it's going to be because really impressive performances by someone else to get them through some of these stations, not because they're going to do something to squander the lead.
Right. And so because they got there first and were the first team to hit both targets, they get to sabotage a team. They still decide, hey, we're going to show Bananas and Nani, like, hey, we're still not sabotaging you by placing it on Olivia and Horacio. And they go back on their way. By the end of this episode, this is the last we see of them. End of this episode, I think they said, like, they're somewhere between a half mile, full mile ahead of the next team, which is Bananas and Nani. We get their dysfunction, but they ultimately get it done. But now here's the main event. Olivia and Horacio are doing it. Horacio gets his 2. No problem. At least based off the edit, no problem.
And he at least says in the confessional that it cuts to that he got 2 in a row.
Right.
So I'm willing to believe that.
So now it's Olivia's turn, and Olivia's trying her best with her busted finger. She tries with the other hand, doesn't work. Ball is falling out. Horacio's being a very good, supportive teammate throughout all of this, which is, I think he made a case to do this after how he acted in the mini final. I think he was a complete 180 here.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw this coming. It was horrible to watch because you knew what was about to happen. She's finally like tugging further and further, but you see the ball, instead of being secured in the center of the pouch, it's almost falling out. But it's not. Yeah. And once she released it, based off just like the energy, the ball wants to stay where it is because it was hanging at the bottom, and it goes backwards, and you just see the impact. I don't know how they got that great of a shot of it, and like great in the most nasty way, where you just see it hit. You see like the bone, like just completely bust open. Like
it's not a pretty sight.
Blood is literally gushing out as if someone just threw a bucket of paint on her. And unfortunately for her, this is where her story ends. But to show the type of person and competitor she is, the first thing she says is, "I'm sorry, Horacio." And then her second thing is, can you please just like, can I still compete? Like, can you bandage this up? Can I keep going? Like her mindset is still like, I'm ready to go. This is excruciatingly painful. I understand I'm most likely going to pass out if I continue going, but I want to keep fighting for this dude who has put everything into it. But unfortunately, Medic takes him away. Yeah,
and this is where you really just see the greatness that's come out of their relationship throughout the season. I mean, the whole, you get when they do the confessional, they show that, it's 3 months later, and just that entire interaction between the two, like that's something that you don't see a lot on the show.
No, and like we are told that the confessional is like 3 months later. And we also get the confessional of her with like the aftermath where like it's just completely bruised over like the orbital bone. Like she is so and I hate saying it like this, she is so lucky where that ball hit her. Because, like, if she actually got hit in the orbital bone, like, that's serious. Like, you could lose an eye over
you're looking
that.
at permanent damage.
Yeah. Like, we see it with athletes where, like, I'm a Sixers fan. Like
Embiid.
Joel Embiid took an elbow straight and fractured his orbital bone. He was lucky. He had, like, a bloodshot eye and, like, was out for a few weeks, but was able to come back with a mask. Like, that's the type of seriousness, like, those type of injuries are around that part of your face. And I also found it very vulnerable of her to do a confessional with it. And just
100%.
like showing like, so like, that's the other thing I love about it, is because it comes off as her being real, which you do not get a lot of. You get a lot of scripted confessionals, DRs. You get a lot of just like, I'm going to say what the production wants them to say, but I want to make sure I'm looking at my absolute best at all times. So I give her a hand. We gave her flowers. Now we're going to give it to Horacio, because this dude just wants to compete so bad. And when TJ tells him, hey, you live and die by your ride or die. You know what, TJ, I love you, but shut up. Do not put your slogan in here.
Now it's not the time.
Now it's not the time. You should just let him get onto the ambulance with her and go to the hospital with her. And he's just devastated. He's in tears. You have an executive producer on camera, like, consoling him, because he's just like, I'll do double the work. Like, I would do everything twice over just to let you guys let me compete so I can fight for myself and for Olivia. Like, don't make me leave here. Like, I want to go. And this is when, like, Anissa and Jordan finally are showing up. Like, that's how far behind they are. They are just showing up, and it's like, you have to pause in that moment. Like, even if you're the biggest competitors, like, you pause and you're just like, he's crying. Like, what happened, man? Like, we've been through all of this together, and kudos to Anissa and Jordan getting the confessional end of, like, giving both of them their flowers of, like, how great of a rookie season they had, because they truly did have an amazing season as their first time out and as an alternate. Like, they first proved that they should have never been an alternate to begin with, but they definitely have what it takes to be a challenge figure moving forward.
Oh, 100%. It was. I don't think there's anything more else they could have done this season to really prove that they should be a potential mainstay moving forward.
Yeah. But that's where this season, or this episode, ends for the final. We end with Anissa and Jordan just getting to Station 3. Olivia and Horacio are now eliminated. They are 4th place. We have Bananas and Nani trailing Devin and Tori as both teams are running to the next station. And we see on the next time out, there's a lot more stations. We see the car station from Australia. We see the swamp one from Australia. And then we see another night eating contest that involves a table being flipped.
Sounds about right for Bananas.
And everyone's going to be like, oh, he got so mad that he flipped the table. And we all know challenge, they just finished or whatever. And then he decides to flip the table because why not? But that's where we leave off. Any final thoughts, Dan, before you go into our programming notes and the podcast?
No, I don't think so. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us the thumbs up, like, subscribe. You do that, you'll be alerted anytime that we're going live. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else, please give us a 5-star review and leave a little comment. Even just give us that 5-star. It helps us out with our randomly perfect algorithm. And as always, the best way to support the podcast is become a patron at realitypatron.com. You get access to the Q&A, which is Matt and Johnny's favorite podcast they do every week, as well as we have Australian Survivor that's going on right now, and you get links to all the episodes. Speaking of Australian Survivor, Heroes vs. Villains just started. We're through the first 3 episodes. Later tonight, actually, it'll be myself, Alex, comedian Wayne Mehmet, and Chrissy, who was just on the last season of Blood vs. Water. We will be breaking down the first 3 episodes of Heroes vs. Villains. And with the upcoming, season 44 of US Survivor coming up, if you want to watch Survivor with Jonny Fairplay, he has plenty of viewing parties going on in the months of March and May. Here, I'm off by a day or so, I apologize, but rattling off the top of my head, we have March 1st in New York. You have, here, give me a second, March 15th in Nashville, Tennessee. You have March 22nd in Cincinnati, Ohio. May 3rd in Durham, North Carolina. May 17th in Charlottesville, Virginia. And then for the finale on May 24th, my hometown, Charlotte, North Carolina. You can get that at survivortix.com. That's survivortix.com. On all these viewing parties, Jonny will be joined by the queen herself, Sandra Diaz-Twine, as well as many surprise guests that we will see pop up. And yeah, if you haven't done it, can't recommend it enough. It's a great experience. And so check it out. And as always, Alex and I will be back next week as we talk, I guess, going to be part 2 of 3 of the finale. But appreciate everyone. Take it easy.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's realitypatron.com.